standpoint, we don't want outside storage where either pedestrians or the traffic is maneuvering, but also in terms of an aesthetic, in terms of outside
It
storage.
seems to be in most of these larger shopping centers, they use the designated parking spaces as outside storage.
Now, for their equipment, or are we talking trash?
They bring
or-
pallet loads of merchandise in and store it outside in parking
That can
spaces.
certainly be regulated,
We
and,
definitely don't. You know,
okay,
I don't particularly like that, and if they're going to have outside storage, put it behind some fence so it's secured and this stuff isn't blowing all over the place, and we can then design traffic around it.
okay.
Another comment that was made by the board was to perhaps have the ordinance address some of the newer hybrid uses we're seeing, like super Wawas, those convenience store, gas station store combinations, to make sure, right now, I think there are sort of conditional uses in the ordinance. We just want to make sure that the bulk standards would address that type of use as well.
Well, right now, I made it, in the regulations, gas stations are allowed a retail use, so I guess it would be the super Wawa and the gas station. It's a permitted use, but there's a whole list of extra standards just for that use in the ordinance right now, as drafted.
And from a legal perspective, that would make it a conditional use.
Really?
Yeah, so that's really excellent. That's the way conditional use is supposed to be done in the ordinance. And so you, so we just want to make it, we just want to make sure that you had that in mind, and obviously you did. when
Okay.
you drafted that.
Okay.
I had a question about whether the ordinance addressed long-term parking of trailers. You know, sometimes retail uses park a lot of trailers on site. I don't know whether or not the board wants to encourage that or discourage that. It's often an aesthetic issue for most townships. Some of these shopping center ordinances have limitations. You know, you can't have a trailer park for more than 2 weeks or something like that, just so that it's more of a temporary nature and not. I didn't know if that was a concern for you. And if it is, it would be in you should put it in this ordinance if you wanted to regulate that.
I don't know what everybody else thinks. I'll give you my opinion is that, no, they shouldn't be parking out there and using, you know, they design your building, store what you're going to sell.
Right. Are we talking about trailers associated with the business, or?
Well, this is a shopping center, so it's not, you know, there are, for example, I mean, I'm sort of just talking off the top of my head, but I know, for example, some large discount stores use trailers, prepackaged trailers for their inventory.
Okay.
And if you regulate your shopping center district so that they can't store them on site, they have to make arrangements to store them someplace else, and they bring them in when they need to restock their shelves, as opposed to having a sea of trailers that say Walmart, you know, in the back lot. So, you know, generally it's the shopping center ordinance that regulates how long that trailer can exist on the site.
Okay.
And then we will have to look into whether or not we have to amend the redevelopment plan. I think that's a very good thought. And I think the odds are we probably do if we want to allow it in that district. But that's something we should talk about.
Okay.
I think there was some commercial allowed in redevelopment, right?
It is, but you know, it's not very well phrased, and I think it would be a nice opportunity to clarify that point.
Okay.
This ordinance allow for types of shopping centers. I'm thinking of two in particular. One would be a Christiana, if we ever get approaching something like that where it's an indoor venue. But one I prefer is White Marsh, which is an outdoor venue, a storefront venue where it's like a town center, and they park around it. I know this, would that allow us the flexibility in this ordinance?
Are the buildings, you have to explain a little bit more to me, because I'm not sure.
The White Marsh Center creates almost a town center with storefronts, whether it's large box stores or smaller stores where you can walk in an interior area, but you're outdoors.
Okay.
And it's landscaped and it feels nice, rather than a Christiana mall or a large shopping center or a mall, which is mostly indoor. You park in a big lot and then you're indoors the entire time. And for the, I don't know, and again, my preference for this township would be an outdoor venue.
The way the ordinance is currently drafted, it does deal directly with quote-unquote shopping centers, which are usually distinct from malls. It has a different definition under the development regs. However, what you're talking about is generally created by careful attention to your architectural element requirements and your landscaping requirements as you set them out in the ordinance. If you call for pedestrian ways, landscape sidewalks, benches, and architectural features on the exterior of buildings, so even if you have a large building, they can use architectural features to make it look like multiple storefronts, even though it's one big
I think that
center.
was one of the things we discussed here was to not see a sea of brick,
Right.
Okay.
to
Big
break it up
solid base.
architecturally.
The main difference that what Joe had put together and then what I sort of relaxed on was the type of architecture that the building should look like. So if the board feels that that's important to them and the look of the storefronts with maybe different peaks and
Yeah.
kind of the fake second or third floor, then that can get put in. Yeah.
Jim, I think I had mentioned a colonial look.
Right.
And a lot of times it can be done by just varying the materials used on the front, stone, color, earth tones, and architectural features like dormers or porticos and things like that can make it look much more like a shopping community, like a village center, than just a bunch of big boxes all put together. And that's how you regulate it, by those details in the plan.
So I could definitely beef up the design, because right now the design guidelines say the architectural component of the shopping center must be, unified, and the signs have to be kind of matching, but it allows the applicant flexibility on how he can design it. But if the board knows what they want, then we can certainly, write that up.
Let's crank it out to distinct
Okay.
colonial type.
Let them ask for a variance or a design waiver if they don't want to do
Okay.
what you're calling for. It's always better to ask for more and require less after if you want to. If you drive up to Massachusetts, the McDonald's don't look like McDonald's.
Right.
They design for the community. So, if you set your standards right, you'll in the end achieve a center that you're proud of.